Brothers, sisters, siblings beyond the binary, hello there. My name is Zach, aka Mr. DXZ, and today we are continuing my series called This Week in Wrestling, and it is the series for the busy wrestling fan that wants to keep up with WWE, AEW, TNA, all in one place every week. Full disclosure, each of these days are recorded on the night of, and I'm going to be using the results articles from Fightful to make sure I do not miss any segments. And even though each segment is going to be in my own words, I am going to be leaving each article I use as a reference down below. So, with all that said, let's get started. Oh God. Did somebody ask SRS for that dark mode yet? Please? Alright. God, I feel like I should be wearing sunglasses right now. Anyways. So, Roman Reigns gets into the building. Alright, he comes up, and he is pissed. And, he rolls in to, comes out, and looks at Pierce and goes, "Where is he? Where is he? I'm going out there, da-da-da-da-da-da." And as he's going out there, gets in the gorilla, looks at the crew, and just goes, "Hear my music!" And then this whole time, as they're walking, everybody's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait. And then finally, once they're literally like right at the curtain, Reigns stops and looks at Pierce, and Pierce just goes, "Jacob Fatu is not here yet. Okay? You gotta wait until later during the contract signing to confront him. Don't worry, everything. I promise you, you will see him tonight." And then Seth Rollins comes up, looks at Roman, and him and Roman have a brief stare down before Rollins just goes, "You're in my way." And then Roman just Rollins just goes in the curtain, his whole entrance, and then as he was doing his entrance, Braun Breaker comes out and attacks him from behind. Spears him a couple times, had to get pulled back by security and producers and all that. Then they cut to backstage at the Judgment Day Clubhouse, where before they played the segment from last week where Finn got in, told Roxy, "Don't trust Liv, don't trust any of them, yada yada yada." So after they played that, everybody's looking at Roxy, and Liv comes up to her and goes, "So, Roxanne, why were you keeping this from us? How did Finn get in the clubhouse? And why did I have to watch Netflix to figure this out?" Roxy basically goes, "Hey, listen. I'm sorry. I figured since I handled it that it was a non-issue." And then, in such a condescending way, Liv looks at her and goes, "So promise me you'll never, ever keep any secrets from the family." "I promise." "You promise what?" "I promise I won't keep any more secrets from the Judgment Day family. Very good. And it was so condescending. And then Raquel patting her on the head afterwards was like, and once everybody's back was turned, you could see the look that Roxy gives. It's like, yeah, I feel that way too. Anyways, and then they get to JD McDonough versus Finn Balor, where of course Judgment Day went with JD and stood at ringside. And Roxy, one thing that you notice is Roxy was the only member of Judgment Day that was not actively cheering on JD. But at one point, I guess Dominic goes and takes the bell hammer from the timekeeper, and at one point hands it to Liv before getting kicked out of ringside for getting involved in the match. I think it was the fourth time he got involved before the ref kicked him out. And then at one point, Finn was in the corner. Liv comes up on the apron, and the ref was like going between Finn and Liv, and when the ref's attention was on Finn, Liv tosses the bell hammer to Roxy, and at one point, JD gets Finn towards Roxy to where Roxy used it on, I think it was his throat. I could be remembering that one wrong, but either way, JD did a headbutt, covered Finn, got the 1, 2, 3. Then Los Americanos, Rayo, Bravo, and El Grande Americano called out American Made. I don't remember that segment. I do remember a segment with those three, but I don't know if I was paying attention, to be completely honest with you. Then they cut to the Vision's locker room, and Logan Paul is still seething about the song that Joe Hendry made about him. And he's like, listen, I want to go in there. I want to tear him apart. This, that, and the other. And then Paul Heyman's like, that's why you're not facing him tonight. Because if you faced him tonight, you'd be going to jail. So I got Austin Theory a match with him tonight. You had Rusev and Ethan Page defeating Javon Evans and Penta. This was actually a fantastic match. But, yeah, so, and before the match, it played a little tape from last week where Rusev looked at Ethan Page and said, next week, I'm not going to fail. But if you fail, you're not going to have to worry about Javon Evans or Penta or the Intercontinental Championship. Because you're going to have to worry about Rusev. Ethan Page pinned Penta to get the win. And after that, it showed Rusev on ringside with a huge smile on his face. It's so weird knowing that man is physically able to smile. I guess JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio were interviewed by Byron Saxton and said that Judgment Day is more united than ever. Oh, I think I do remember this, actually. I was about to say I don't remember this, but I think I remember Byron talking about, hey, you know, what's this going on with Roxanne Perez, this, that, and the others. Look, there's just a bump in the road. We're more united than ever, yada, yada, yada. That's if I remember correctly, which I'm pretty sure I do. They had a contract signing. They put singing in the article, but a contract signing for Sol Ruca to be officially a Raw talent. Now, I also have to say I share the crowd's sentiment when I say she does deserve it. She's a very talented young woman, and I cannot wait to see what they do with her. During the contract signing, though, it was interrupted by Becky Lynch, and I don't think I was actually in the room to hear what Becky said at first, but I know that Sol Ruca said something to her that Becky took offense because of the tone. And I remember, I think, okay, so this is just me guessing because of context, but I'm just pulling this out of my ass completely, you know, to be completely fair. But because Lynch was saying, oh, you gotta, you know, one thing you're gonna learn around here is everything's about me, so I'm gonna guess Sol Ruca went, hey, this isn't about you, please leave. Sol Ruca looked at her and went, if you interrupt me again, I will snatch your soul. And then Becky's like, okay. Then it turns around. Turns back around, goes to hit Sol. Sol moves out of the way. Becky hit Adam Pearce. And then, after Adam Pearce exited the ring, while admonishing Becky Lynch the whole time, Sol hit the Soul Snatcher on Becky. So this is going to be fun. Joe Hendry comes out with his guitar. Okay? He's dressed for the match. Don't get me wrong. He is dressed for the match, but decided to play a little song. And there he goes, starting up again. Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Yeah, the tag team champions come out. And Logan Paul is still irate. And, I told you! You're not be fired! I am not fireable! I am the best thing that this place has for business! And this, that, and the other is... And meanwhile, they're trying to pull him back. Like, no, dude. Remember what Paul said? And, the match gets on its way, and then at one point, Logan Paul gets in the ring and hits Joe Hendry, meaning that Joe Hendry won by disqualification. And then they both jump Joe Hendry, and then, you know, Street Profits come out. Make the save. And if I remember correctly, I think Braun Breaker comes out to try to help Austin and Logan. And then Rollins comes out and starts brawling with them before getting speared again. Oh god. Then we get the Oba Femi Open Challenge, and I love this. So Oba Femi comes out and says, hey, the Oba Femi Open Challenge, you know, has commenced. come on, who wants to come? And Alpha Academy comes out with Akira Tozawa being at the front and looking oh so confident. Oh my god, like, you know, like you'd think he was actually about to whoop somebody's ass had you not known it was Obafemi he would be facing. Right, you know? And he gets in the ring, gets right up to Obafemi, and then just kind of goes, turns right around, tags in Otis. So it was Obafemi versus Otis, and Obafemi won. But yeah, it was actually a pretty good match. And considering that Obafemi basically threw Brock Lesnar up in the air at WrestleMania, I was kind of shocked that he didn't try pulling something, you know, similar with Otis, but Otis is like 330 pounds, so yeah, makes sense. Then there was an interview. Well, not necessarily an interview, but it was a sit down face to face, you know, in a locker room, where between Io Sky and Asuka. It was basically one of those things where it's like, you know, Adam Pearce is just like, hey ladies, you asked for this time, the floor is yours. And Io started and went, hey, listen, you know, everything you say that you are, you are. You are my senpai. You are my mentor. You are, you know, I used to look up to you. You know, I used to be proud to be your, you know, to study under you. You know, you've changed and I don't like how you've changed. You know, and now we have to, you know, I don't want to do this, but I have to. And Asuka's like, you are so disrespectful. You know, the Io Sky that I trained is long gone because I don't know anybody this disrespectful. This, that, and the other. Yeah. Oh god. And then apparently they got Brutus and Julius Creed in on this El Grande Americano thing because El Grande the original Grande Americano and Hermanos Credo, Bruto and Julio, want to go up against Los Americanos, Rayo, Bravo, and El Grande Americano. El Grande, the original Grande Americanos team won. But yeah, it was weird, kind of weird seeing Brutus and Julius in Lucha gear. But hey, you know what? If they're having fun with it, who am I to judge? So, Reigns and Jacob Fatu come out, right? And they're sitting at this table, and Reigns is like, hey man, I understand everything that, you know, everything you went through. You know, he's like, look, you know, you said you were down, you know, struggling for what, 12 years? I've been here over 12 years. He's like, listen, you say that Solo brought you in? I brought Solo in, therefore I brought your ass in. I'm the reason you're not struggling anymore. He's like, you know, but you need to you know, you need to restrain yourself. You're making our family look bad. He's like, you know, tongue and death grip is not something to be played with. You know, at a bar, 3 in the morning and about ready to fight 8 guys on your own, and your back's against the wall, that's when you use the tongue and death grip, not on family. What the hell? And certainly not on your tribal chief. And Fatu just looks at him and goes, Really? That's where you don't understand, Roman. I am desperate. My back is against the wall. He's like, you know, I don't have any other choice but to do that to you. No matter what you say, I have to run through anybody and everybody to feed my household, to get my kids through school. And Roman's like, really? Because you're worried about supporting your household? I'm supporting everybody's households. You're worried about 7 kids? I'm worried about 170 kids. Okay? You know, you want to talk? Let's talk. You know, and Reigns looks at him and goes, and then he's like, let's get this out of the way. And he signs it real quick, signs the contract real quick, and he goes, that's why me and you, as far as the family goes, we're equals. Blood is blood. But in this ring, you're beneath me. That's when Fatu locked in the Tongan death grip, and Roman kept getting out of it, and Jacob kept getting him back in there. And then at one point, he even went to go Superman punch Jacob Fatu, and Jacob went up and did the Tongan death grip, and did what I guess you could call a Tongan choke slam, because it was a Tongan death grip and a choke slam through the table that they were using for the signing. And then he picked up the contract and signed his part real quick, and yeah. And now we get to NXT. According to Fightful, I guess NXT started with Tony D'Angelo attacking Tavion Heights backstage, which, because I was having some technical difficulties at the time, I did not get to see it. It did not, the thing wasn't playing until Jada Parker's entrance in the first match, which was Kelly Armstrong defeating Jada Parker it was a great match too. It cut to the GM's office, and Tony D comes in and looks at Robert Stone. Robert's, just like, hey, what the hell was that? He's like, look, I want Tavion Heights tonight. No, you can't just go around and do that. I'm handling business, okay? I want Tavion Heights tonight. Tonight. Alright, you got it. Then it cuts to the little, I guess it'd be like the cafeteria backstage, where you had Birthright standing there talking, and then Fit Finlay comes in, and Uriah looks at him and goes, hey, what's up, Dad? He's like, hey, son. He's like, so you lost last week. Yeah. Do you guys just lost against people that don't have your pedigree? What the hell? He's like, do you realize who I have on the phone? Mr. Regal? Well, at least somebody got something right. And then William Regal's on the phone going, alright, listen. He's like, alright, listen. I got Charlie going to such and such gym, practicing over in England. Okay? What we're gonna do is next week, Birthright is gonna be in some sort of 6-man tag. I know that was a terrible I know that was a terrible William Regal impression, and I am sorry for even trying, okay? Oh god, Jasper Troy versus Jackson Drake. So, this was an interesting fight. Okay, so, yeah, it started just as you'd expect it, to be completely honest. You know, it started just the way you would expect it, you know, with Jasper Troy just pummeling him. And when he gets out, they get outside the ring at one point, and just as he's about to, like, I believe he was about to slam Jackson Drake through the announce table or through the commentary table or something, and or he went back into the ring, he went back into the ring. The ref was distracted with Jackson Drake. Micah Lockwood, the homegirl that Jackson Drake was on a date with, came in and freaking picked up Jasper Troy and slammed him, threw him into the ring, and allowed Jackson Drake to get the win. What? Homegirl's kind of scary at this point. There was a vignette for Tristan Angels calling himself Mr. England and, talking about how, I'm the best, I get to show the world I'm the best and this and your typical vignette, hey, I'm here, I get to show what I get to do, yada yada, or I get to show what I can do, yada yada yada. Zarya came out for a promo, and she basically went, okay, now that this Sol Ruka business is behind me, I can finally concentrate on what put, me and Sol in that collision in the first place. I can now concentrate on the NXT Women's North American title. Tatum Paxley comes out and goes, listen, I understand you want a shot at the title. It's not going to work out for you, but you can try, basically. And then Lizzie Rain and Nikita Lyons both come. Lizzie Rain first comes out. Is like, well, since I'm the new kid in the block, I feel like I should, jump in, take a chance, show what I can do, yada yada yada. And then Nikita Lyons comes out and goes, really, bitch? No, this ain't gonna happen. And it's like, dude, she just pinned you last week. What are you talking about? But anyways, it ended with it ended with Lizzie and Nikita brawling each other, and then Zarya taking Tatum out. Well, not completely at first, and then she took out Nikita or Lizzie, whichever one was left standing. And then Tatum went to go and attack Zarya, then got taken out completely. Then you had Vanity Project backstage talking about Jackson Drake's win. And you got, I guess the homeboy's name is Romeo Marino. And according to Fightful, it looks like they have in parentheses Zozaya. So maybe that was his name on the indies or something. But anyways, he is, I guess, an artist. He has an artist character, and he was on Evolve or whatever. And they were talking. I guess they're talking trash about newbies to him, and he's like, "Aren't you guys new?" Yeah, we're new, but we're champions. See, there's a difference. And then Noam Dar comes in and announces that he is back from injury. Hell yeah, love to see this. But anyways, and I guess next week is going to be Romeo Moreno and Noam Dar against the Vanity Project in a tag match. Then, as Tony D'Angelo was coming up from backstage to, get to the match he had scheduled against Tavion Heights, Kim Hendricks attacks him from behind in the hallway. And, so, when you've watched wrestling long enough, you can tell when things are supposed to break and when they're not. There was a hole in the wall that I'm pretty sure was not supposed to happen. But, yeah. And, yeah, cause he, on one wall, and then on the other wall, and then you see a hole forming. Does not look like it was meant to form. And then, yeah, because of this, you see Robert Stone panicking, looking at some productive personnel, and like, hey, can I borrow your headset real quick? Hey, he puts it on and goes, hey, listen. Hey, it's Stone. Listen. We're pushing up the mixed tag match. Yeah. The calling, and Iguana and Vice, yeah. It's happening right now. This has to happen right now. So that's what happened. The calling is Dame and Nico Vance going up against Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice. This was an entertaining match. Which, of course it was, because Mr. Iguana was a part of it. But, for those who don't know, Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice are the AAA Mixed Tag Champs. Yeah, the way that it ended was... Oh! I think, if I remember correctly, something happened outside of the ring that distracted Lola Vice for Izzy Dane to be able to do her finisher. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, and at one point, commentary did mention that Nico Vance is now the Reality of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, which, for those of you who don't know, is Booker T's promotion. And when Booker T, when somebody like Booker T believes in you enough that, they're willing to make you the champion of their promotion, that's gotta be one hell of a confidence boost for Nico Vance, man. Then you had backstage, it cut to the women's locker room, and Jada Parker was losing it and throwing everybody's shit around, and, yelling at herself for losing to Kelly Armstrong, and then you hear off camera, well, I guess what they say about Miss Parker is true. Natty comes into frame, looks at her and goes, You've gone soft, and exits the room. Then we have Dark State going up against Hank and Tank. And so this was at first a normal. This was Aziris, Griffin, and Cutler James up against Hank and Tank. And at some point, Saquon Sugars grabs a steel chair, and Deion Lennox is like, what the hell, man? This is, 2 weeks in a row. What the fuck are you doing? This is not how we're supposed to do shit. Yada, yada, yada. And they're about to go to blows. Osiris Griffin and Cutler James had to separate them, put them on either side of the commentary table. And for, like, most of the rest of the match, they were not even looking each other's way. Like, they were literally, like, just opposite directions. And at some point towards the end of the match, they both went up to the ring and cheered them on. And then Dark State did win. They cut to the backstage, and as Lola Vice was walking through, she passes Kalani Jordan sitting on one of the travel cases, and Kalani's like, so tough match out there, champ? And then they start, bickering, and then Kendall Gray comes up and goes, Kalani, just shut up. I'll come from the girl that keeps getting opportunities handed to her, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah. And then there is a new NXT interviewer named Emily Agard, who apparently her first ever assignment was to get an interview out of Keanu Carver. So she's like, Keanu, why do you do the, well, no, she went up to him, and he's like, I ain't saying shit in front of a camera. She's like, okay, set the camera down. They kept the camera rolling, but had sat on the ground, facing, she's like, oh, she's like, alright, why do you wrestle? Money. Huh? Yeah, money. I keep telling you guys, I'm here for the money. I'm the same in the ring, I'm the same out of the ring. Somebody's got to feed my family, and if wrestling ain't going to work out for him, he's like, if wrestling ain't going to work out for me, something else will. I told Shawn Michaels, if it's not going to work out, just let me go. And then he looked down and basically at one point was like, and I know you've been rolling this entire time. Then we have Tony D'Angelo defeating Tavion Heights, with Cam Hendricks trying to get involved before Miles Bourne came in and made the save. And then Will Cruz, the, I guess, UK Indies standout, came out and laid out both Tavion Heights and Tony D'Angelo. And then revealed that his name is, and he looked at the camera and went, my name is Mason Rook. And then he's big, he's bad. He'll body slam your dad. I don't remember what point this actually was during the broadcast, but this is just something, mentioning Homeboy's new name just made me remember. There was a vignette at one point of Evil talking about how, hey, basically saying, I made my name in Japan, I'm gonna make my name here. I'm, here to run things. And then told Tony D, hey, what I gave you was not a present, it was a declaration of war or something like that. And they revealed that his name was going to be Naraku, which is, according to Google, the Japanese word for hell. Now we move on to the AEW Dynamite / Collision 3-hour special. Now, the show started off with Tony Schiavone and Sting doing a tribute to Ted Turner, and they gave him a 10-bell salute. Now, this is, by the way, the first, this is how I personally found out that Ted Turner passed away. So, may he rest in peace. And, they were right. He did transform both television and wrestling, so he deserved the 10-bell salute. Then they went to the AEW Continental Championship Eliminator, where it was an awesome match, but Jon Moxley defeated Juice Robinson with a hold where Juice passed out, but it was an awesome match. And then they went to a video of Will Ospreay training with the Death Riders. And this training was strange. It looked like it was like a neck strengthening technique where they had it was either Wheeler Yuta or Daniel Garcia. I'm pretty sure it was Daniel Garcia though. Doing like having their legs hooked on his legs, him on all fours, and them doing sit-ups on his back, on his neck, while he brings his head up and down. And at one point, he was just like exhausted, and Moxley gets down, which, by the way, during this, in the background, Moxley is getting hit by Marina Shafir. And I'm pretty sure this is just because she's MMA trained and doesn't want to hurt Mox. But yeah, you can tell she was taking it easy on him. But Moxley comes down and says, hey, do you know the concept of Death Ground? No, and then he explains it, which I don't even remember exactly what he said, to be completely honest. But basically going, hey, he basically went, you're in a position that you are, where there's no other option. Do or die. Focus on everything in front of you. Yada, yada, yada. And then there was the Double Jeopardy match where Orange Cassidy went up against Dax Harwood. Now, both of these men came out with their entourages. So, Orange Cassidy came out with the Young Bucks, Cope and Cage, and, of course, his fellow members of the conglomeration. And Dax came out with Big Stoke, Ciampa, Cash Wheeler, Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, David Finlay, and Clark Connors. So, yeah, this match went nuts by the end of it. Everybody on the outside and all that, but it was a nice match, a great mixture of Dax's traditional style versus Orange Cassidy's comedic style. And if I remember correctly, Orange Cassidy, the win was very sneaky and very sudden. But afterwards there was a huge brawl. Everybody, just going in and starting to beat the hell out of each other. And especially Orange, but and then afterwards, RPG Vice, Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta, was kind of stuck in the ring between the conglomeration, Cage and Cope, and the Young Bucks. Yeah, they did not have a good time. they were laid out by everybody. Everybody took their turns doing their moves on him. Cage's big move was kicking. I believe it was Trent Beretta in the nuts. It was great. There was a vignette for Roosh. It was just your normal, rawr, big man, Roosh vignette. Chris Jericho came out and started doing the promo, but basically went, listen, I'm sick and tired of all these games. I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. I'm sick and tired of this. Ricochet, if you have any balls, get the hell out here and, see me face to face, mano a mano. And Ricochet comes out with the demand. And he's like, listen, you're sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this. And he goes, a few years ago, you made a match for... you created a match specifically for Double or Nothing. He says, I want to face you in that match and give you a losing streak in your own match. So at Double or Nothing, it's me and the demand against you and whoever the hell else you can find. And a Stadium Stampede match. And Jericho's like, you really think I can't find friends? Okay, cool. He goes, and even if I don't, I'll kick all your asses. And next thing you know, Jericho tries to take down the demand, and almost, it was a good effort. But, of course, the numbers game took over, and Hurt Syndicate came out and saved his ass. Oh, God. Then there was a backstage interview segment with Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron. Oh, God. I can't believe this. Okay, so they're sitting there like... Renee just looks and goes, okay. Harley, what do you think of all this? And she's like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to think. And then Mina Shirakawa just suddenly goes, listen who you are! And literally just kind of... I don't even remember everything that she says, but I know at one point she rips Harley's shirt open. It's just a bra just sitting there. And it just kind of slaps her tits and just goes, you're Harley freaking Cameron! And Harley's just like, you're right! You're right! Yeah? And then she's like, the wrath is back, and finishes ripping the shirt and kind of throws it down. And then she just kind of stood there for a second, and Renee's just like, you might want to put something on. And she's like, right, okay, yeah. And then it just wanders off. Oh my god. Then you have the AEW International Championship, where Kazuchika Okada retained against Brian Keith, which it was nice seeing him again. Wish they would put him on AEW TV more often. Okada did a little promo declaring, after that, declaring that he has eyes on the AEW World Title, And then you had the Ops standing there in the interview section of backstage. And, you know, Smojo's sitting there going, listen, Will, alright, I put people in a better position than when I found them. He's like, you know, I let people be who they are. Unlike the people you're running with. I let them, you know, for example, you got Hook right now. He's like, he's like, you know, he didn't succeed last week. Did I punish him for it? Hell no. He's just off filming a movie right now a gig that I got for him. But then he said, his exact wording was, I am extending my hand one last time. But if it's not accepted, I will extend my fist instead. Then you had the match of Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander versus Mina Shirakawa and Harley Cameron. Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander won, but Chris Statlander did not seem happy about it. Commentary just sat there and went, you know, oh, it looks like she's giving off just a cold stare to Hikaru Shida. She's not even hugging back. That they've won, yada yada yada. Then there was a backstage promo that Swerve Strickland did, talking about why he's going after Bandito, saying, hey, I've said that I was looking for power. I was not joking when I said that. This is what it comes down to. You know, there's nothing more dangerous than a man looking for power. And then after that, because I think right after that they did if I remember correctly, they did a commercial break. They came back to Bandito chilling backstage with Brody King, and Bandito basically went, Swerve knows where to find me. I'm not hard to find. And then they went to the AEW World Championship match, Darby Allin versus Kevin Knight. Holy shit, was this match amazing. Oh my god. And Tony Schiavone put it best in the beginning of the show, because he sat there and looked at this thing and went, and to think the TNT champion tonight is going up for the AEW World Championship. What better way to honor Ted Turner? If this match was, if this match was supposed to be a way to honor Ted Turner, they did a hell of a job doing it, let me tell you. Like, holy shit. Anyways, and then as Darby Allin was celebrating, because Sting, of course, came out there since he was there already. Got both hands got raised because good sportsmanship and all that. MJF comes out and bitching that he didn't get that rematch yet, and Darby's like, I told you I wouldn't give you a shot until you put something on the line. I meant it. So MJF's like, okay. You want to barter with MJF? Alright, I got you. I'll put my scarf on the line. Okay, it's a nice scarf. And everybody's like, what? And Alan's like, no. Okay, I hear you. Alright. I'll put the dynamite... He's like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll put the dynamite diamond ring on the line. He's like, no, you idiot. And honestly, I didn't think this was where this was going, but he looked at MJF and went, I want what you were willing to fly 15 hours to Turkey to have plugs in put for. I will not accept the challenge until you put your hair on the line. Hair versus title match. Oh, this is going the normal route of, hey, unless you put your ability to, face me for this title again on the line, then no, or something like that. No, his hair, and Darby Allin sat there and said it's because he's an egotistical fuckhead. And instead, he didn't say one way or the other, and Jeff just stormed the hell out. Then Kazuchika Okada came out, looked at Darby. He went to the ring, looked at Darby, and went, I want a match for that title. Darby looked at him and went, you're on, bitch. Then they go to the back where Renee is interviewing both Will Ospreay and the head of AEW Medical. And she's like, okay, Doc, what, you've reassessed him, what's happening? He's like, well, you see, I assessed Will when he first came back, and assessing him now, he's actually gotten a lot better. So whatever exercises they're doing, it's doing wonders. Keep it up, basically. And Renee looks and goes, okay, Will, so, what's the relationship between you and the Death Riders? He's like, listen, I'm not a Death Rider. I'm never going to be a Death Rider, but I'm willing to do what I have to in order to stay on top of my game. They had a random exhibition match of Mike Bailey versus AR Fox. This match was great, and Mike Bailey won. Will Nightingale cut a promo backstage talking about how she was honored to be representing Turner Broadcasting System as the TBS champion, and how she wanted to continue honoring Ted Turner's legacy. Then they got Pac. Now, Pac was, cutting a promo with the Death Riders behind him, the rest of the Death Riders behind him, and he's like, hey, he's like, hey, Darby, it's your buddy Pac, the bastard, He's like, listen, you think I haven't got my eye on that title? Oh, I do. He's like, me, you, match. He's like, we're 2 for 1 in my favor. Come on now. And then there was a match of Jamie Hayter defeating Sky Blue, and afterwards it showed Tekla and Julia Hart watching in the crowd. And at one point, Jamie even tried using Sky as bait to get them to come down, but Tekla literally was like holding Julia back from going down and trying to kick Jamie's ass. And then it cut to a backstage segment where Don Callis was with the Don Callis family, which consists of Mark Davis, Kazuchika Okada, Konosuke Takeshita, and Andrade El Idolo. Then Don Callis sat there and was like, and looked at Okada and was like, yeah, this is my guy. This is who I pick for AEW World Champion. And Takeshita's just like, he shouldn't be worried about the AEW World title. He should be worried about defending his title against me. And then he storms off. And then, Don's just like, and he's like, he's still my guy. He's still my pick for champion. And Andrade just looks at Don and just goes, Don, how do you know? And walks off. And Don's just like, oh my god, what the hell? And he's just like, because I'm Don Callis and I know everything. And right now, what's best is gold in the Don Callis family. And I'm like, oh god, he's burying himself deeper and deeper. Alright. And there was another vignette for, the Jack Perry National Tour or whatever. And, head of the title match at AEW Fairway to Hell. And then you had this wild-ass 10-man tag match, which was the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Bang Bang Gang, Ace Austin, Austin Gunn, and Colton Gunn, defeating the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors, and the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Daniel Garcia. Holy shit, was this match wild. If you want to see a wild-ass match, dude. It was nuts. But yeah, the Young Bucks and the Bang Bang Gang won. Alright, so now we are going into TNA Impact. So the show kicks off with the no disqualification match between Eric Young and EC3. It was, as you could imagine, a hell of a match. And, it was telling the story of, EC3 wanting revenge for the whole chair around the neck thing. And Eric Young just wanting to prove that he can beat EC3's ass. And that, EC3 got the revenge a few different times. And then, but Eric Young was able to pull off the win by pile driving him through a table on the outside. And then throwing him back into the ring. And then pile driving him onto a steel chair and then pinning him 1, 2, 3. Then Elaine Black comes out and starts talking about how, these girls, they want, they want to say that they're the best, yada yada, I'm the best, I make the most money, yeah, that's right, yada yada yada. I'm a business and shit like that. Ash by Elegance comes out and is like, oh my god, you think you're the best? I'm the best. I make more money than you do. Oh, bitch, you think you make more money than I do? Yeah, I told you, I make more. And they were literally bickering over who makes the most money. Indy Hartwell comes out and is like, dude, you are fighting like fucking kids. Are you seriously arguing about who makes the most money when in all reality, by the way, this is also them talking about who, is a better fit for Knockouts world title. And anyways, Indy is, lecturing them about it, and then at one point Elaine just looks and goes, fuck this shit, I'm out. So she steps out of the ring, and Indy's just like, oh, get your ass back here, I ain't done with you. And I think Ash says something about her being the realest person around. And Indy looks at her and just goes, realest person? Bitch, everything about you is fake. Your hair is fake. Your eyebrows are fake. Your lashes are fake. Hell, your tits are fake. And then Ash just starts acting offended and going, my tits are fake, and yeah. So that's where that is. Then they cut to the back where Daria Ray was, obviously it's in the GM office, and Daria. By the way, earlier in the programming, commentary did mention that Santino was supposed to be back this week, and then but then they cut to Daria Ray, and she's like, huh, she's on the phone, she's like, oh, somebody called and canceled Santino's flight. I guess that's too bad. I guess I have to make the decisions this week. So yeah. And then there's the TNA Tag Team Title match where where Bear Bronson and Brian Myers from the System defeated Nick Nemeth and Casey Navarro. And how they did this was, well, obviously with it being the System, numbers game, if I remember correctly, the ending was Casey went to go do his finisher, got his foot snagged by Alicia Edwards. He got distracted and then went to go do it and ended up in a basically like a pile driver type of deal in 1, 2, 3. I think it was Casey. Could have been Nick. Either way, after the match, Eddie Edwards grabs the mic and says, hey, since we're out here having a good old time, why don't we get the continue the System party? Moose, Leon Slater, get your asses out here. We're doing this now. So that's what happens. And oddly enough, it was actually a fair fight. And because it was a fair fight, Moose and Leon Slater actually defeated Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander. And then you have a cut to it looked like a warehouse of glass, like glass panels. And you had Broken Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy standing there. And Matt's like, "Man, brother Nero," the glass is something about the human mind being as transparent as glass, and once you get through that blockage, you can accomplish things beyond mortal men or something like that. And at one point Jeff sings a song about Brother Nero being almost there, and basically they were talking to the Righteous and saying that basically there's going to be evolved versions of Broken Matt and Brother Nero. Which, if there is an actual evolved version, I would love to see it. Mike Santana comes out for a promo, and he's like, hey, Me and Rich Swann, we tore the house down, And I'm looking forward to doing that again. You guys want to know who my next opponent is? Yeah! You want to know who my next opponent is? Yeah! Alright. It's good. And then Daria Ray comes out and goes, ha 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 ha. No, we've had this conversation before, Mike. You don't run things around here. You don't make matches. I do. So therefore, next week, we're going to have a battle royal for the #1 contender of your title. Which, by the way, love the idea of a battle royal. So that's probably the only decision she's ever made since coming to TNA that I've actually agreed with. But anyways, Mike's like, alright, cool. He's like, you know what? Doesn't matter to me one bit because it's the result. The end result's gonna be the same. I'm still gonna still gonna stomp them and retain my title. And then you had a backstage promo from AJ Francis talking about how, basically saying, TNA forced me to put that pipsqueak Casey Navarro on First Class, and now he's sitting there, and I did all the work, this, that, and the other. Basically saying he wants a street fight. Casey's like, hey, look, this motherfucker here, I worked hard to get to where I was. Or to where I am. He's like, he took advantage of me. He, I worked my ass off for our team. And then the second I get injured, pushes me off to the side and brings in Rich Swann. Hell no, fuck this shit. And then he talked about how he's ruined relationships for this, friendships, yada yada yada. And then he talked about, he's like, my uncle's sick right now, and I worked hard to get to heal up faster, so he could see me on TNA again. Yeah, and yeah. Oh, and now this is not in the Fightful results article, but oh god. So there was an interview. There's a backstage interview with Gia Miller interviewing Ariana Grace and Stax, and she's like, first of all, she's like, the TNA Knockouts champion Ariana Grace and Stax, and then Stax just seemed like so offended that she didn't say his full name or something. But anyways. Oh my god, the way that that Stax and Ariana, the characters, love it, because they're just sitting there being all, are you saying you have a plan? I always have a plan, baby. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'll squeeze you, baby. And then, as they're walking away, Jesus is like, and then as they're coming into the arena, you hear Tom on commentary going, "My thoughts exactly, Gio." But anyways, then it gets to the TNA Knockouts Championship match, where Lei Ying Lee beats Ariana Grace, and Stax got involved in the match at one point. Ariana Grace was being pinned, 1, 2, and he puts her foot on the rope, and the ref saw it. Kicked him out of the arena, and he threw a hissy fit before walking out. And, yeah. Lei Yingli won. And then after that match, they just before they went off the air, they went back. They cut to backstage, and Moose was found laid out with a chair around his neck and stuff stacked on top of him. And now we get to Friday Night SmackDown. So they actually started the show off with a tribute to Ted Turner. And then Jacob Fatu comes out, and he's basically like, hey, if I remember correctly, the exact line was, tomorrow at Backlash, I'm not going in there and facing Roman Reigns. I'm going in there and taking Roman Reigns' title or something like that. And the Usos came out, and they basically went, look, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. I think Jay was just like, look, I've been there. You don't. He'll wear you down physically, emotionally, mentally, shit like that. And he's, and Jimmy was just like, hey, but what's gonna be worse is your kids, your kids, your wife, everybody's gonna be ringside and seeing it happen. And once you lose, they're gonna be forced to acknowledge your tribal chief. And Fatu's just like, you fucking kidding me, right? He's like, look. He's like, listen. We ain't acknowledging shit. Just because you guys haven't beaten him doesn't mean I can't. And, unlike Roman, I'm willing to die for mine. And then, as he's about to exit the ring, he looks at them and goes, oh, by the way, you two better not interfere in the match tomorrow. Because I swear to God, if you do, I will burn this goddamn family tree to the ground. Then they go to the back where it was... I don't remember who Nick Aldis was talking to, but Ricky Saints came in and was like, you know what we should be talking about? How I'm the hottest new signee that SmackDown has right now. That's what we should be talking about. Or how about the fact that last week you had me going up against QB1, and today you have me going against, what was it you said? QB4? Nick Aldis is just like, really? I mean, okay. And then Matt Cardona walks in and goes, really, that's what you think about me? I can't wait to whoop your ass later. And then they get to kind of like where the parking garage meets the backstage area. And Jacob was on his way to his car and runs into Royce Keys, and Royce is like, hey man, I heard what they all said out there. Fuck what they say. Me and you, we're a different breed than them, man. Just keep your head held up high. Just keep doing what you're doing, and everything will fall into place. You're gonna beat Roman tomorrow. He's Jacob's like, hell yeah, man, And then as Royce Keys goes past Jacob, He looks and sees Solo and goes, "Now I should be whooping your ass right now." And Solo's just like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 my man. Hold up, you got it all wrong. Don't take that personal." Because last week, him and Jacob Fatu were attacked by Talatunga. And, Solo Sikoa's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't take that personal. You were just collateral damage, my man. If anything, there's room in my family for you. Rice Keys is like, oh, fuck off with that, I don't even... Actually, wait, no. I'm not even sure if he actually said one way or the other. Anyways. And then we get to the WWE Women's U.S. Championship match, where Tiffany Stratton retained against Kiana James with Julia at ringside. And there were points where, like, Julia had the opening to interfere with, behind the ref's back, and she just didn't. And, I remember one time that happened, and Kiana kind of went outside the ring, looked at Julia and went, "Dude, what the fuck?" And Julia's was like, What do you want me to do, huh? What do you want me to do? And, if anything, the one time Julia did try to interfere may have cost Kiana the match, because she went up on the apron, and just as the ref's back was turned, Kiana ended up getting a pin instead of Tiffany. And at that whole time, Julia's just like, wait, no, turn around. And the ref's just like, no, you get off the apron, get off. You're supposed to be on the floor. No, off. And you look, and it's like, and then he's like, what? And, Tiffany kicked out, and, ended up doing prettiest moonsault ever on Kiana and got the 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. I'm loving this segment, by the way. I'm loving this. So, by the way, so they get to the back where they had a funeral for the gingerbread man. May he rest in peace. And, Sami Zayn is just back there going, what the fuck? Are you guys serious? Like, what is going on here? Am I the only sane man here? Truth comes up to him and goes, I'm sorry for your loss, Sammy. Thank you, Truth. I see the family resemblance. I'm sorry, what? That was great. I was loving this. Then they had a meeting, so they cut to the backstage where there was a meeting with Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Alexa Bliss. And basically, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley were having a pissing contest that Alexa had to pull apart. And, she looked and went at both of them and went, listen, you're both big, strong badasses. And you're both got the same goal of destroying Fatal Influence. That is what matters right now. And then there was a little segment with Damian Priest and R-Truth in the locker room where they're talking, and Priest looked at Truth and went, hey, listen, they got the numbers advantage on us. He's like, and me and the Judgment Day, we, wrote the book on number advantages, so I know the type of shit they're going to pull off. So with that said, I'm going to need you to stay backstage. But DP, we're the tag team champions. Like, yeah, exactly. and you're not 100%. They're going to want to get to you to get to me. So I'm going to need you to stay backstage and hang out. Alright, cool. Go do your thing, and then we have Tall Tonga versus Damian Priest. So, during this match, you can tell they were trying to get Damian Priest to do different stuff because it's not every day he being 6'5" and Tall Tonga being 6'9" that he gets to, fight guys that are taller than him and, bigger. So, yeah, it was a nice big man match, but in the end, I think Tama Tonga came out. And that caused R-Truth to come out. And then Tama Tonga went to go take him hostage. And Priest went to go out there and then ended up getting slammed by Tall Tonga 1, 2, 3, and then they went to go attack R-Truth, and then Royce Keys came out and they cleared the ring, and Solo Sikoa was like, whoa. We're trying to, gain his favor. Cool. Oh god, then they cut to a segment backstage where Danhausen's at a table with a piece of paper that says offering auditions for his tag team partner at Backlash, and nobody signed up. You'd figure that there'd be more people wanting to punch Miz in the face, but still. And then Miz and Kit Wilson made fun of him for it, and Kit Wilson said something like, because he was standing there with a mirror, checking himself out, and going, and he looked at Danhausen and went, the only one who talks enough to be Danhausen's partner is Danhausen. And Danhausen's like, you know what? You're right. Why didn't Danhausen think of that? And then he got up and walked away, and they're like, wait, what? Then they cut to the GM office, and Gunther was about to sign his contract to SmackDown with Paul Heyman there. And, but just as he was about to put pen to paper, the TV in the GM office showed Cody Rhodes entering the arena. And Gunther's like, what the fuck is this shit? Are you serious? I deserve better than this shit. This is a big time deal. You're getting the ring general signing to SmackDown, and you're gonna let this guy, I'm your future world champion. You're gonna let this guy freaking interrupt me like this? What the hell? And he's like, I ain't doing this shit. And then he walked out. When he handed him the contract back, Paul Heyman's like, I'll handle it. Don't worry. So Cody Rhodes goes out and is like, hey, you want a piece of this? You want a piece of me? You want a chance of this title? I ain't hard to find. Get your ass out here. Paul Heyman comes out and goes, hey, listen, bud. So, this is kind of my, little favor that I owe Gunther. So, if you could sign this contract to face him at Clash in Italy and get Gunther to sign it, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, it's your problem now. Bye-bye. As Heyman was about to leave, Cody turns around and he knew automatically Gunther was going to try to choke him out again. And, smacked him in the face with a microphone, and then after multiple attempts and getting thrown off, and then he got thrown out the ring, Gunther just finally hightailed it out of there. He says, Gunther, I'm easy to find, but I'm hard to beat. And then we get Ricky Saints defeating Matt Cardona, and then there's another segment, another funeral segment. By the way, this looked like a legitimate funeral. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm not even kidding you. It looked like one of the room they were in legit looked like a smaller version of the main room of one of the funeral homes, local funeral homes here. But anyways, Sammy was sitting there at this funeral for the gingerbread man, and he was just yapping away, venting, if you would. And he's like, and then he finally looks down at one point and goes, thanks for listening. There was Johnny Gargano still laying face down. And then at one point, Sammy just kind of kneels next to him and goes, hey, you still there? You alright there, bud? Is Johnny Wrestling still in there? And then Johnny just kind of lifted his head a little bit. And then Sammy's like, oh my god. Candace! He's moving! He moved! He lifted it to that! And then, but by the time she came in, he's already back to, and she's like, no, that's kind of what he does. He just lays there. That's the thing. He doesn't move. And, yeah, the one thing that would have made that a lot better is if Johnny had like a bunch of drool coming down or something. Oh, but and then Zayn was like, Ray, went up to Ray Phoenix and was like, dude, you've got to be kidding me, man. You're in on this too? What the hell? And Ray Phoenix is like, dude, you gotta be more respectful about this. And then Paige and Brie Bella were walking on their way backstage, on their way to the ring. And at one point, behind them, a ladder falls, and they both turn around like, whoa, what the fuck was that? And you see Danhausen running across the screen and like stealing some of Brie Bella's hair. This sounds a hell of a lot creepier than, yeah. Anyways, and Brie, what? Paige is like, what? Did you just pull my hair? No. Oh, whatever. And then they get out there, and then they're talking about the women's tag division. How, what was it that they? I think that it was the Irresistible. Somebody called them, talking about how somebody called them a nostalgia act and stuff, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not a nostalgia act. If anything, we're better than we've ever been. And then Fatal Influence comes out and basically goes, hey, Fallon and Laney are going to go after those titles. And then they're like, JC here is going to be your future women's world champion, or your future women's champion. And then the Irresistible Forces came out and says, and look at those three and go, this isn't NXT, girls. Get in the back of the line. Oh, and then because Lash Legend is engaged to Trick Williams, they started chanting, "Whoop that trick! Whoop that trick!" So, yeah, the Irresistible Forces started calling Fatal Influence tricks. So that's a thing. Anyways, then they went into the next match, which was Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Laney Reed versus Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. Fatal Influence won after Rhea Ripley got attacked by Jade Cargill, and then Michin and B-Fab started attacking Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss after the match, and Rhea tried coming back in, but then got put back down by Cargill. And then Royce Keys beat Tama Tonga. Danhausen had this like makeshift lab going on, right? Involved a wood crate, a microwave, a very, very basic chemical set, and an old school computer from like the 90s. Looked like it was from the 90s, something like that. Anyways. And it was called the Clone Machine Hausen. And used Brie Bella's hair, his tooth, and some other chemicals. And yeah, the machine broke down. He tried to clone himself, and the machine broke down. Tama Tonga, while sitting on one of the travel cases, got confronted by Shinsuke Nakamura, basically going, how much longer are you going to deal with this shit? You know, not even your brother gave a fuck enough to, give a fuck enough to help you. Oh, and by the way, during that match, yeah, Solo and Tama Tonga did not help at all. But Tama Tonga came in, looked at Shinsuke Nakamura and going, you better leave my brother alone. And Shinsuke said something to him in Japanese before walking away. And then they get to the main event segment where Trick Williams hosted the funeral for Gingerbread Man. They brought the body out to the ring. The body out to the ring with the casket, and there was like a 5-person choir and everything. Like the whole shebang. Rose, the whole funeral wreath and the funeral bouquet, everything. It was fantastic. Honestly, I even said this during my watch along. I think it might have been the music that they played. I felt like I was actually watching a funeral. Like, that feeling that you get when you're at a funeral? I, for some reason, got that during this. But again, and I think even during the backstage segments, but again, I think it's because a lot of it had to do with the music that was playing. They, Trick sang with the choir, had a vignette that, as Fightful points out, was done via AI of all these memories that Gingerbread Man has with Trick Williams and Lil Yachty, going to all these trips, like climbing a mountain, and I believe Mount Rush. We're going to Mount Rushmore, and to the beach, and to the club and stuff like that, and also throughout. I forgot to. So I think this is the best time to mention this. Throughout the show, they had these AI things, these AI made vignettes of like historical moments and showing that the Gingerbread Man was like there. Like, for example, the shocked guy from when Undertaker's streak ended, it showed Gingerbread Man right next to him going, and it was just, yeah, it was fucking great. Sami Zayn interrupted the whole funeral, man, and he went, "This is some sort of joke. What the hell? How could you?" And then he was about to attack Trick, and then Gingy sat up, took off the mask / head, and it was Lil Yachty. And then he grabbed the candy cane kendo stick and started beating Sami Zayn with it. Yeah, Trick Williams and Lil Yachty beat Sami Zayn, and yeah, they stood tall at the end of the broadcast. Now we get to the AEW Fairway to Hell, which was a nice little 1 hour special. So first of all, I didn't realize that Fairway to Hell was happening in an indoor golf facility. So, which the name makes a lot more sense now. But yeah, it was a interesting and unique set that they had going on there. And another thing is that for a little bit, I don't know, at least in like the first while, or like most of it, I didn't really notice it as much towards the end, but you could hear somebody giving the verbal cues for everything. Like, alright, and go, Renee. And okay, now 3, 2, 1, click the graphic. And now you guys can react to it. And it was a little distracting. But I don't blame AEW for this. It's a different type of setting than what they're used to. So, yeah. But, match-wise, they started off with the AEW National Championship match of Jack Perry going up against Mark Davis. And this was a good match. And then at the end, you had freaking Ricochet come out, whack Jack Perry in the back with the golf club, and hide while Mark Davis got the win. So yeah, Mark Davis is now the AEW National Champion. There was a vignette for Nick Wayne talking about how he was going back to Japan to participate in the New Japan G1 tournament again, which, you know, good for the young man. You know, love to see it. Love to see it. And then after the match, it shows Jack Perry on a little stretcher thing. I think this might have been the trainer area where and he had ice taped to his back where, you know, where he got smacked with a golf club, and he's you know, sitting there like, all right, yeah, let's do it then. All right, and then looks at the camera and goes, all right, do you wanna fuck with me? Fine. You know, I seem to remember that Chris Jericho was looking for some partners to beat your guys' asses at Stadium Stampede. I'm not just gonna give you one. Not just two. Let's just call it double or nothing. I'm gonna give you 4. The Elite. Me, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks are teaming up with Jericho to beat your asses at Stadium Stampede. Then they cut to the interview area, and Don Callis is excited. He's like, "You're giving me exactly what I want." He's like, "I get to have Jack Perry, Kenny Omega, and Chris Jericho's asses whooped all at the same time. I would have paid to done that, and he's giving it to me for free." And Ricochet just looks and goes, "So you tell me, Cal's family's going to help me? Gonna help me with this?" He's like, "I'm telling you that the new national champion Mark Davis will be there on your team at Stadium Stampede." All right, cool. And then Divine Dominion, as they're coming out, they play a promo that Lena Cross and Megan Bayne did backstage, going, "Hey, so we're gonna do a little challenge here, all right? They're like, from now on, during our contender matches, to get a title shot at these, you just got to last 5 minutes against us. You don't have to beat us. You just gotta survive." And then they went up against Ruthie Slay and Rachel Leigh. As you can imagine, it was a total, it was a total jobber match. It was also announced that Tekla will defend the AEW Women's title against Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Hikaru Shida in a fatal 4-way match at Double or Nothing. And then they cut to the back where Don Callis talks about how Okada had to go to Japan to handle family business. And he goes, "But that's okay. That's okay. I have a backup. The one, the only, the Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita, will face Darby Allin, or whoever wins, for the world title on Dynamite." Alright, cool. Then there was a vignette for Kyle O'Reilly. Mike Bailey defeated some dude named Kyron Gray. Kevin Knight did a little feel good post match promo to Bailey saying, "Oh yeah, me and you, we're gonna make it to the top." Yeah. And then we get to the AEW World Championship match, and it was a no countouts match of Darby Allin versus Pac. Now, once the bell rang, Darby leaves the ring and goes up towards the green. Pac follows, and they start wrestling and throwing each other into the sand pit, and which also imagine, man, that with the sand flying and shit, and as you're breathing and getting into your lungs and your eyes and shit. Oh man. Anyways, then at one point, they come back from commercial break, and then you got Pac being down Darby Allin in the ring, and as soon as Darby got the upper hand, he kind of gestures over towards the entrance, and the Death Riders started jogging out, distracted Darby momentarily, and yeah. But anyways, Darby won. How'd he win? No fucking idea. Why don't I have a fucking idea? Because apparently my the DVR on the TV streaming app that I use, I decided I wasn't good enough to get the ending. For all I know, the Death Riders could have turned on Pac and beat him down after Moxley kicked him in the nuts. Pac could have forfeited the match after a riot broke out amongst the crowd. Maybe Pac got squashed by Darby Allin's pet dinosaur named Patches, and they had to give Darby the match because Pac couldn't continue. I don't know. But what I do know is that Darby Allin won. Now we get to WWE Backlash. Now, the show starts off with Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. They did they were telling the story of the classic Young Buck versus the older veteran, and Seth turning 40. I don't remember if they said this week or this month, but something like that. And Braun Breaker being in his prime and all that, and Seth Rollins it was a fantastic match. But in the end, Rollins went for an avalanche stomp, and as he was coming down, Breaker gave him, I think it was the third spear they gave Rollins, and 1, 2, 3. Then they went into the U.S. title match where Trick Williams retained against Sami Zayn after... So, when Trick and Lil Yachty came out, Lil Yachty was still carrying the Candy King kendo stick from when he was playing Gingerbread Man. And Sammy, at one point, grabbed that kendo stick and whacked Lil Yachty after he was trying to distract the ref or something. Then he grabbed the kendo stick, whacked Sammy in the back, and I think, if I remember correctly, that is what gave Trick the win. Might be misremembering this, but either way, Trick did retain. Oh God! So, Kid Wilson and The Miz come out. Okay. And you remember a little bit earlier in this video where I was talking about how Danhausen was trying to clone himself? Well, so Danhausen comes out. And the cloning machine is right at the entrance, by the way. And it's flashing, it's making noises, there's smoke! The lights are out, and it looks like there's this silhouette of this large man in there. Door falls down, and comes out Minihausen. Yeah. Your brain is interpreting this correctly. A mini Danhausen came out and was Danhausen's tag team partner. And, yeah. At one point... Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure... Looking at this Minihausen's skills... Yeah, he's definitely a luchador. At one point, Kit Wilson kicked Minihausen back into the, cloning machine and shut the door. To which it turned on again. Door fell back down, and out came 7 Minihausens that all attacked Kit Wilson. And, yeah. Danhausen and Minihausen won. And then they get to Io Sky versus Asuka. Oh my God. They tore the house down. And they were telling the story of the disappointed teacher trying to teach the student that they perceive as disrespectful a lesson, while said student is trying to teach the teacher or make the teacher understand that, hey, it's time to, basically it's time for me to flew the coop, yada. And, it was a fantastic match. At one point when they were on the, commentary table, Asuka went to go blow the mist in Io's face, and she held up a notebook belonging to Wade Barrett to block the mist. And yeah, so that was bad. It was a badass match that Io ended up winning. And here's what made this complicated. Okay. Between a post that Asuka made on Instagram before this event, and how she was hugging Io and, raising her hand and all that, and breaking character, basically. There is a lot of speculation that this could have been Asuka's last match in WWE, if not ever. So, yeah. Anyways, and then John Cena came out for a promo. And as he was talking, of course, you got the the one more match chance, and he's like, "Listen, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, and it makes me feel good that you want me to have another match." And he goes, "So here's the thing," and he was talking about how, his retirement show helped showcase so much young talent, so much NXT talent. Like listed here is Javon Evans, Obafemi, Sol Ruka, and he said he liked that. He liked this idea of showcasing the young talent, and he says he's like I want to do that again. So we're doing it again, and I'm like, and for a quick second there, I'm like, wait. Is he announcing he's legit having one more match? No, that's not what's happening. He announced the John Cena Classic, which is a tournament, a one-day thing, where it's NXT talent against WWE main roster talent to get showcase the talent, before they come up and all that, and they all would have a chance to be crowned a champion, a brand new type of champion with Cena's name on it and everything. And by the way, if it's not a spinner belt, it's not a true Cena belt, just saying. But anyways, and he sat there and said that it's not going to necessarily be done, like who gets crowned as champion is not going to be done through winners and losers, like traditional tournament. It's going to be done via fan vote. So, and he said, it's because I've always been about the fans. I've always been about hustle, loyalty, respect. And he goes, if they hustle, if they lose, but they hustled and gained your guys' respect, then they deserve the title. Which, you know what? It's new. I see. I'm kind of excited to see this. I just I hope that they find a way to incorporate that championship into something more. Like, don't have it just be another trophy like Andre the Giant thing. Have it be like, you can turn it in for, a shot at any title type of thing. I don't know. But anyways. So then we get to the World Heavyweight title match, where you got Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns. So throughout this match, you had Jacob Fatu pulling out the Tongan Death Grip over and over and over again. Meanwhile, Roman was trying to target Jacob's right hand, so he couldn't do the Tongan Death Grip. It took, there was like 3 spears, a Superman punch, and at one point, the top turnbuckle, the padding for the top turnbuckle, came off as he was struggling because the Tongan Death Grip, and he maneuvered Jacob to wham his head right at the exposed turnbuckle and pinned him 1, 2, 3. Then after the match, Jacob got up and put Roman in a Tongan Death Grip again. And would not let go. just down, and it just. At one point, he did let go. He did. To give the referee a pop-up Samoan drop. And then, I don't even remember. I think he threw out Adam Pearce. And and dropped freaking Gregory Helms or something. It was a mess. And as he was walking out, he gets up the ramp, looks at the camera and goes, "I told y'all I was wild. I told y'all I was wild." He's like, "You see me? You see where Roman is right now? I told y'all. Man, we ain't done." And as Roman was going up at the post show, that Kathy Kelly's like, "Hey, do you have any comments?" He's like, "We shouldn't have let Jacob in. This is why we hadn't let him in. We didn't let him in." He's like, "Jacob, this is your last. That was your last match, or this is your last day here, or something like that." And then he went in his back, and yeah, that's where the broadcast ended. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if you are a gamer just like I am, go click the little icon up there. Go subscribe to my gaming channel where I upload both Twitch VODs and original YouTube content. Speaking of Twitch VODs, I do have a Twitch where I not only do I play video games on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, but every day, except for typically Sunday, I do wrestling watch-alongs where I have them multi-streamed between here and there. In the description down below is my Beacons link. That has the links to all of my social media, which includes my Discord server. So, join the family. We're trying to build up a community, But anyways, I love you guys so much. Remember, if there is anything at all, I want you to take away from any of my content, is that you are loved, you are valuable, and you are awesome just by being yourself. Take care of yourself and each other.